Good morning, welcome back to my channel. I am Deb Morris, your spirit poet, and you know what? Just reading the word and meditating on it does so much for your mind. It does so much for you as a person on a whole. Um, you get to thinking, instead of what would make me happy or what would satisfy me, what's gratifying me, you start thinking, what would make God happy? What would gratify God? What would please him and bless him? And yesterday we spoke about abortion. We said, do not abort, right? Do not abort. That's a big thing in Jamaica right now because they're trying to legalize abortion in our country. And I know we're talking about spiritual abortion, but it works in the same way. There is a purpose to everything. God created all things. It says the world was framed by his words. And once we take it into our hands to destroy what he has created for the purpose he has created it for, then we are certainly headed for a demise, right? And so it is my heart, and I'm sure it is the heart of God as well. Do not abort, whether in the natural or in the spiritual sense. Do not abort. Yeah, we see clearly in Jeremiah 1 where God says, before you were formed in your mother's womb. That was also said in Psalms. Yeah, God has said it again and again. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you and I prepared you for the time that you were there. And you need to look let's look at history, and we can always look at the Bible, right? Every time there's something great, every time there's greatness deposited in man, which is all the time, by the way, yeah, the enemy comes in and he desires to do what he does: steal, kill, and destroy. And that's what abortion does. Don't just think that when you abort, it's just that situation. No, it is you, it is your family, it is your generation that is going to suffer from this spiritual abortion. Because it could very well be that, like Esther, you were made for such a time as this. Yeah? It could very well be that, like Esther, you were created, that seed, yeah? That seed was created for such a time as this. It could be that that seed was, we've heard time and time again where, people have said, I made it, I'm great, and, I've gotten here, but my mother was going to abort me. And let's look at Moses. Let's look at biblical figures. Moses, when Moses was born, Pharaoh said, kill all of them. Why? Because the enemy had come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. He knew that there was going to be greatness born out of that time. There was going to be deliverance born out of that time. He understood the times. He understood the seasons. Yeah? And so he put in Pharaoh's heart, kill them all. But God, remember we said yesterday, he fights for us. He fights for us. Right? And then let's go back to Esther again. Esther was there. She was like, yo, I'm not getting involved. I'm not getting involved. If I get involved, they're gonna kill me. And Mordecai says, if you do not rise up, somebody else will, and Israel will be delivered. But who knows if you weren't born to the kingdom for such a time as this? And then Esther went before the Lord and she sought the Lord. And then she determined in her heart, listen, if I perish, I perish. See, that's where we need to be. We are not going to have the fortitude. We're not going to have the will to do it on our own. But we need to seek the Lord. Yeah, when you go to God, then he deposits on the inside of you that unshakability, that immovability. Yeah, that tenacity, that dogged faith. that says, you know what, if I die, I die. If I perish, I perish. If I lose, I lose. But I'm going to do this for the sake of the kingdom. And so it is my heart for you this morning. Do not abort. Do not give up eternity for instant gratification. Do not be like Esau. Do not sell your inheritance, your heritage, for something that you can just have now that has no eternal value. Yeah? Do not abort. Do not abort. Well, I don't know my purpose. I don't know why I'm here. I don't even know if I have a purpose. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Jeremiah said it. He said it. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. That was not just to Jeremiah. That's to each and every person that was born on the face of this planet. That's for every human being. God has a plan for you. He has set you aside for this time. And he says, but Lord, I cannot speak, for I am a youth. He was young. You know, just like Moses. Moses said Moses wasn't a youth at the time, but he says, I can't speak. Send somebody else. God says, no, you are the one I saved from the river. You are the one I saved from certain demise. You are the one that I created for this job. What job? To let my people go, to release and deliver my people. God had planned this. God had planned this because he had said to Abraham, listen, your seed is going to be great, but they're going to go down to Egypt and they're going to be in bondage for a minute. Yeah, 400 years. And after that period, I am going to deliver them. So God had it in his mind long before Moses came on the scene. Do you think God just said, oh, let me see, process of elimination? No, he won't do that. No. God had planned it from a long time ago. God has plans for you. Do not abort. Do not abort. Do not be afraid of their faces, he says, for I am with you to deliver you, says God. It doesn't matter what comes, and everything is going to come. Everything is going to come. God promised us. He said it in the word. You know, he said tribulations and trials are going to come. He said, don't be mindful of these. Yeah? Don't think too hard on these. They're not strange. They're here for a purpose. Why? Because everything that is worth anything needs to go through a period of adversity to get to where they're going. Gold is purified over fire. So is silver. Diamonds goes through an intense process under the earth before it is unearthed. And then it goes through another process of chipping away and revealing that said diamond. Pearls go through. Plants go through death. A seed goes into the ground. It has to die. Then it has to fight its way through. So anything that is worth anything must go through a process. A process. God takes us through a process, but no matter what the process is, do not abort. Do not abort. I repeat, do not abort. And he says, then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said to me, behold, I put my words in your mouth. See, I have this day set you over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down, to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. This is what God has given to each of us. It wasn't just Jeremiah. It wasn't just Jeremiah. Jeremiah wasn't some special, the only thing that made Jeremiah special was because he didn't abort. The only thing that made Jeremiah more special than you is because he persisted. The only thing that made Jeremiah more special than you in this day and season is because he sought the Lord and was obedient to the way of the Lord and did the work that God called him to do. The only reason we are now speaking about Jeremiah, how many millennia after, is because he was obedient to the word of God, because he did not abort. He was persistent. Yeah? See, I have this day. Even this day, we are reading the words of Jeremiah in our prayers. We're seeking what the Lord is saying in these scriptures. This was written before the birth of Christ, over 2,000 years ago, but it still is a blueprint. What might God do with you in this season? What might God do with you in this season? And the Lord is saying in verse 12, then the Lord said to me, you have seen well, for I am ready to perform my word. Anytime you begin to see the way God sees, anytime you begin to take on his perspective, he is ready to work in you. He is ready to work in you. What does it take on his perspective? Not much. Get into the word. Get into the word. Get into the word. Micah 6 verse 8, walk humbly with your God. What does that mean? What does it mean to walk humbly with your God? Listen to what he says and do it. Listen to what he says and do it. Obedience is an indication of humility. Because I don't know enough to follow my own way, so I will follow your instructions, Lord. Do not abort. So you've backslidden. That's okay. Come back. He's waiting for you. So you have given up on that prayer life because it really isn't working for you. And all that stuff that I promised you, God, you know what? 2020 came, messed it up. I don't even know if you want me anymore. Guess what? He wants you. He wants you. Don't abort. Don't abort. Don't give in to the gratifications of the flesh. Don't give in to the euphoria of the time. Don't give in. Do not abort. That dream in your heart, don't abort it. Don't abort it. The talent, the giftings, the things that he's placed, deposited, don't abort. Move forward, press forward. And we said yesterday that we repeat these things. Why? Because faith comes by hearing. What are you listening to? Maybe you need to throw some of that garbage out. Maybe you need to throw some of the garbage you're listening to out so that you can center yourself on what God is saying. Do not abort. Do not abort. I'm Deb Morris, your spirit poet. It's been a pleasure as always. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.